Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, another episode of the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, hosted by Daniel and I. No Mark this episode, guys. He will be back at some point when he's able to. But yeah, we're back, guys. We're excited. We're looking forward to doing this episode here. It's game week. We actually can finally say that it's game week. Man, I've been dying for June and July to be over. I've been dying for it to be over, for it to come to an end. I'm a fall guy. I love fall out here, man. And so it just feels good that we not only just football, but dude, like when it's even though it's still August and preseason, like dude, it's like it's that time, you know, and you're starting to creep even more and more toward that. So it's just a great feeling. But Dan, how does it make you feel that we can sit here and say that we've made it and it's game week?
Oh man, this is the most optimistic time of the year. You know, down hasn't been played. The team and the staff there has made all the correct decisions. Everything is, everything's going good right now. You know, no, the team hasn't lost. There hasn't been any critical injuries or anything like that to any players with significant time. So right now it's exciting, man. You know, I really think that the hype is real. There's in my opinion, there's a sense of like this team can prove it this year that they belong.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't see why they couldn't.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's not just that, but it sounds like the Pittsburgh Steelers are moving in the right direction as far as what they did do. It sounds like the offensive line is coming together. The decisions that they made to go and acquire Isaac Seumalo is paying off thus far in camp.
Right.
I'm excited to see that battle at the left tackle position.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting too. And we're going to get into that, guys. We're going to get into the preseason game. We're getting some stuff that's been going on in camp. Jared Devil, what's up, man? Always good to see you here in every episode, dude. It never fails. Thank you so much for always tuning in. Brian, Steelers fan, what's going on, guys? What's going on? Daniel, how was your weekend this past weekend? Did you do anything?
Oh shoot, man. I think me and the wife, he took the baby to a Disney thing. It was this animation man, I can't even. They did a bunch of stuff with lights.
Was it like a light show?
No, it was more like a I can't pronounce it. I know the word, it's on the tip of my tongue, but they had like this Van Gogh type of deal where it was like a hologram sort of and projection of the painting, and you were like inside it and you'd walk around. That's pretty crazy. Well, they did something like that with Disney here in San Antonio. And so you walk into this building, which was weird because it was in a warehouse, like on a not so great part of town. Like I was like, man, we might find some like some crackheads with some Mickey Mouse ears on the side of the road here. It's pretty weird. You know what I'm saying? So it was, you get there and you walk in and they have those projectors on the lights. So as you walk into the filming area where you're going to watch this or have this experience, the ground is like fake leaves or like it changes, but it was like fake leaves. It had like little glitter or whatever. And where you stepped on it, it would move. It was pretty cool, but it was like a hologram. It was like a projection. It wasn't real. And every part of the wall was part of the Disney library. And so you would see like pictures, paintings and stuff like that, and statues and little memorabilia from parts of the movie, but it was all projection and cartoon. And like, for instance, some of the paintings they had were animation. They would move. It was pretty interesting. And then there was like a 50-minute film kind of collaborating many of Disney's films together. And it was pretty exciting. They threw some bubbles out, the whole 9 yards. So they took the baby out to go see that.
That's cool. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, your wife says
Steelers
Disney
fan.
immersive experience.
That's the word I could not say. Immersive.
Immersive.
That was the word that was on the tip of my tongue. As you noticed, I said Disney and experience.
So is that like something that you can just go to anytime, or was it just like an event thing that they did?
It's been here for about a year. It's about to leave already. We just discovered it. So we
got there before they headed out.
Yeah, we got there before we headed out, but we're gonna go back one more time before they leave. The little baby, she really enjoyed it.
That's good. Yeah, no, that's good.
How was your weekend, man? What'd you do?
Yeah. What did I do this weekend? Just ran some errands, just kind of weekly stuff had to do. Watched a little bit of Pirate games. Honestly, this weekend I think was a little bit more low key, honestly, than maybe some other weekends. So I think that was really about it. Just kind of more hung out, laid low. Definitely needed a couple days off. So that was kind of really about it. Really nothing too much to it.
Yeah. Well,
that's okay. Sometimes you need weekends like that.
I was gonna say, dude, that sounds like a pretty awesome weekend to me, man. When you get older, the weekends you don't do much, or the weekends you enjoy.
No, yeah. Everyone just needs some time, whether it's an off day or just a weekend in general, of just kind of scaling back a little bit. Brian says, George, what's up, man? Appreciate you tuning in. I bet Joe Burrow was a member of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. He just looks right in. Varmint ears.
Yeah.
He belongs in Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
He does, man. He does. Good old.
Oh man, that's funny. Yeah. Well, speaking of Joe Burrow, we're not gonna be talking about him on this show, but we're gonna be talking about Steelers week 1, preseason week 1, actually. Really. Talk about training camp because there's been some stuff that's come out of that this past week. But Daniel and I were just pretty much saying, guys, that it's and you guys can chime in the comment section, put some questions out there if you want, or your thoughts about kind of maybe your excitement level going into Friday. But we're just saying it just feels good being able to say it's a game week, and it is. It feels great. So, but we'll start before we get into the first game. We'll jump into training camp about kind of what's gone on this week. Steelers had their Friday Night Lights practice this past Friday. But when we look at training camp, it seems like some of the guys that are having just really good camps are some of the young guys, Joey Porter, Washington, Broderick, which is great that you want to see. They've been using the Patrick Pearson around in different sets on defense. Kenny, for the most part, had a pretty good camp, it looks like. Him and Al Robinson have had a good connection. We know George Pickens has put on a highlight reel. So there's a lot of exciting, good, positive things that have come out of camp. So we'll kind of dissect that. And also the Steelers depth chart came out. And there's a couple interesting things on that. But Daniel, when we look at preseason, Afton, what's up? Appreciate you tuning in. While flushing a radiator, what radiator are you flushing?
To a vehicle, my man.
It's what?
To a vehicle.
To a vehicle.
Yeah, flushing it out. That's probably sometimes you need to flush one out if you're going to replace something, or if you're going to like if it's an older, like I used to have a Camaro that we used to have to flush out the radio and put like antifreeze and then Freon, or not Freon. There was 2 different types of coolant that was used. One was coolant, one was protecting of freezing temperatures. And so, I don't know. Interesting. I wonder what kind of vehicle it is.
Yeah. Well, Afton, if we can kind of keep you occupied while you're doing that, then that's great. So, but welcome to the channel. Good to see you back in here. 1947 Ford. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if it's an older vehicle.
89 tractor. Well, there you go. There you go. So hopefully it's not too much of a pain, but hold on 1 second.
That sounds awesome, though.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys. So Daniel, when we look at training camp, and we look at kind of what's been coming out, I feel like one of the biggest things that came out was Minkah Fitzpatrick's absence
Mm-hmm.
and him not being there. And wasn't anybody's business, but we probably all figured it was personal matter, probably something family related. A lot of times it is. But did you have any type of concern of him not being there? Where you're just like, hey, he'll just come back whenever?
And I wasn't too necessarily concerned about his play or performance being affected by his absence. In my opinion, I think more of the concern would be when it comes to the camaraderie and the chemistry that was needed to be built between himself and the new pieces in the secondary. You know, Patrick Peterson's new there. Joey Porter Jr. was recently, acquired in the draft. And, you lost to Cam Sutton. You lost the Terrell Edmonds, and you're now going to have a rotating piece there in the safety position for the strong safety between KZ and Neal. I think it's important to, get on the same page. And this part of, the football season is the part where Coach Tomlin calls it developmental football. And this is where, the game plan, the identity, the attitude of the team is being created. And it is a big piece to be missing. Now, if, this was a secondary that had been together for at least a year or two, I don't think I'd be as concerned. And like I said, I'm not concerned for his play. I'm just more concerned about the secondary's chemistry and whole.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
about
there were
yourself?
some. Yeah, no, I wasn't concerned at all. I knew he'd probably be back at some point. Just got to do what he's got to do. And he is back, which is great to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I know like there were a few people online, freaking out. And it's like, relax. Like this is, people got other stuff going on outside of football that they got to take care of. And it is what it is. So just relax. But yeah, definitely good to see him. He's already been working with Joey Porter the last couple of days, which is good to see. Yeah. He's been working with him, it seems like. But speaking of about the secondary thing on the depth chart, it said on the free safety position, KZ/Keanu Neal. There was not one solidified guy set in stone on that depth chart. So 100%, we're pretty much probably going to see a lot of times all three of those guys out there.
There's a good chance. I think it just kind of depends on what the offense is doing. If the offense comes out with a pass or, wide receiver heavy set, I think you're probably going to see a DeMonte Casey out there. If the offense comes out with a heavy set there, maybe 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, I think at that point you're looking at Keanu Neal starting that possession. So I think that's the only reason why it's an or.
Yeah. Also, speaking of secondary, Daniel, how do you feel about Patrick Peterson kind of being used a little bit in the slot throughout certain points of training camp?
Yeah,
Which I think we all kind of knew is probably going to happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. I like his versatility. I like his ability and his willingness to move into the interior and into the safety position. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are, if they're doing that and they're willing to move him around so quickly, I think that might have a lot to do with also their, Joey Porter Jr.'s play on the field. I don't think you're going to be moving him around if Joey Porter Jr. isn't showing that he's ready and capable of being out there with the ones at this point. I think that, if Joey Porter Jr. was showing, signs of, him not being as advertised, I think then at that point you would, want to develop and build this team to have, Patrick Peterson and Levi Wallace on the outside. So bringing in Joey Porter Jr., the amount that he is, and how it's been kind of, alluded that Patrick Peterson is going to be playing in a lot of different positions, and that Porter's going to be in. That leads me to believe that Porter's having a pretty good year so far. I know he got the highlight catch on him, but I mean, he was in pretty good position in my opinion. Can't really cover that much better.
No, you really can't, and that's just going to happen, dude. Like that happens. That happens with every team. Like no matter what, there's going to be certain plays in the middle of games, man, where it's like there's nothing else you can do. It's same goes with the NBA. You'll be playing fantastic defense. Somebody pulls up just a great jump shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it is. So I've been really pleased with Joey Porter, with what he's been doing. He's been holding his own. I think also defensively with them signing Quan Alexander. Do you like that? You like that signing?
You know, I think they did it for a reason. It's probably because there's maybe some concerns in coverage ability out of the middle linebacker group, maybe out of Mark Robinson or Landon Roberts. I think that, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to fill a specific role, and that's going to be it. I think that there's been a lot of buzz coming out of Roberts so far out of training camp with his ability to, hit and be aggressive and hit hard. Yeah. And I'm for one excited about what they bring, because last season, when you look at what was lacking out of the inside linebacker group, you had, a lack of physicality and heart in Devin Bush. You had injury riddled Miles Jack, and you had a guy who was coverage challenged in Robert Spillane. And so there was just so many holes coming out of there. It was in my opinion, not a good situation.
No.
And these guys fill those holes. I think that, you have two cornerbacks that can cover. You have a guy that can be a thumper. In fact, even Quan Alexander is a guy that I think can be a thumper. The biggest questions is going to be health. All these guys have had at one point in their career or another some sort of setback. So,
right. It was definitely something that was needed. And Brian, I know I pulled up your question about a few minutes ago. Believe me, we'll transition into that here soon. But Quan Alexander was needed because he's a guy that can at least drop back a little bit. He's a guy who can play the pass a little bit. And they needed somebody like that who would be able to give them somewhat of that element into that position, because we know Holcomb and Roberts aren't really in that kind of mold. Like they're going to friggin' knock your head off. But Quan Alexander is also a guy as well that will knock your freaking head off. Like he's played for some pretty solid defenses through his career so far. So definitely something they needed. I think there's more optimism. I feel like there's more optimism going into this year's inside linebacking group than there was last year. And that's not to say that this year's inside linebacking group is going to be like their future group going forward or anything. Like we have to really wait and see how it plays out. But I feel like there's more optimism because like you already knew what you were getting from Devin Bush.
Mm-hmm.
You knew Miles Jack was coming off a couple down years when we signed him. We knew Robert Spillane was very limited. This year, we know Cole Holcomb has put up some good numbers, though he had some injury problems last year. Landon Roberts probably had the best year of his career last year. And then now you bring Quan Alexander, who's already been on some good defenses. So it's not something where it's not an elite level of an inside linebacking core, but it's something that at least the Steelers and probably everybody at least hopes and maybe has an expectation for, that it's something that can at least work for now.
100%.
So, and then, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, though, when it comes to the defense, there's been some not such glowing reviews coming out of the Keanu Benton camp. How concerned are you with Keanu Benton? And, you look at the depth chart, he's behind Montrevious Adams, behind Brandon Fiocco.
Right.
I was expecting him to be behind one of those guys. I wasn't expecting him to be behind both.
Right. I'm not really too concerned. I still think that he's somebody who's high level guy. Like he hasn't played a snap yet at all. Mm-hmm. We know Tomlin with these rookies and stuff like that year in, year out, he wants them to earn them. He wants to get the best he can out of these guys in their rookie season. And that could be a lot of it. There could be maybe just be some things where maybe they want him to be at a certain point that they don't see yet. But I still think just in terms of his trajectory, I still think that he can be that he'll end up being a solid guy in their defensive line rotation. Might not be right away, but something just to keep an eye out for. We'll see him in preseason. Probably see him in the second group, third group, whatever it is, and kind of go from there. But I like his trajectory still. I'm not worried at all about him.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. I hope so. Yeah. I mean,
I hope so too. Yeah. Like they definitely need some help down there for sure. But the Fiocco, he's gotten some good reps in camp as well. So he could be somebody as well that maybe takes some of those snaps away from somebody. But I think like their depth on the defensive line, though, is a little better than it was last year.
I do too. I think the defensive line, well, one, they're healthier. Mm-hmm. And so as long as health maintains, I think they're going to do a lot or significantly better. Right. Isaiah Loudermilk is a guy I thought that was possibly on the hot seat, or his seat getting a little bit warm. What do you think about How important is this preseason for him?
It's definitely his biggest one yet, because he hasn't really quite gotten over the hump yet. Probably was this year 3, year 4 for him now. Hello, Jennifer. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, it's year 3. And another thing about this defense, though, is how many safeties do you think this team's going to carry, and
Right.
who do you think they are? Because there's a few there. You have Minka, you have DeMonte, you have Keanu Neal, Miles Killebrew, who was last year's special teams captain, Trey Norwood, Elijah Riley, who's been playing nickel, but he's also played safety. What do you think?
I'll say 5 at the most. 4 or 5. Because
so you think all of them, or which ones? Who's out in that bunch? If you have Minka, DeMonte Casey, Keanu Neal, Trey Norwood, Miles Killebrew, and Elijah Riley, who's out for you?
Probably Norwood. You need Killebrew, man, for special teams. You definitely do. But the other thing too is that if, let's say, they're down a safety at some point, Patrick Pearson, they've already been in a situation where they didn't have any of those 3 safeties out during camp.
That's true.
And Patrick Pearson got some reps up back there. So I don't really think we'll see him much back there. But if certain points in a game, if somebody goes down, somebody's banged up, he's another viable option that I'm sure would take that challenge. So I'm not like, we know they're starting 3. Elijah Riley's had some talk. He'll get some opportunity. Killebrew, you need special teams. Norwood has an opportunity here to have a bounce back. I think 4 or 5. I think 4 or 5 is probably what we're looking at, to be honest.
Yeah, true. This, when it comes down to the 53, it's going to be very interesting to see, because you got a lot of players. You can't keep them all. The inside linebacker position, you have Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts, Mark Robinson, Quan Alexander, Tanner Muse, who's also a guy who plays some special teams. Nick Kwiatkowski's another guy that I think they brought in in competition with Tanner Muse for that special teams, role more than so inside linebacker. But you think they take 4? I think they take 5 inside linebackers. I mean, they can't keep 5 safeties, 5 linebackers,
right?
Like 9, defensive linemen and another 5 defensive backs. Like, it gets to a point where some cuts need to be made.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah,
is there somebody on this defense that you're thinking that may not make the 53 that's going to be a surprise?
I'm going to say there's going to be no surprises, but there's going to be like a few guys that have been on this team now for like 2-3 years that are going to get cut. And that I've just never been able to, get over the hump.
Right. Yeah, for me, I think that's probably Trey Norwood.
Yeah. You think so?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I thought his coverage was a liability. I never saw him as being the most physical guy. So it's like, if his coverage is a liability, he's not the most physical of safeties. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's either you're one or the other usually.
Yeah.
You're either really good at coverage at the safety position, or if you're a good safety or capable safety, you're decent at coverage or decent at and being physical and being able to stop the run. And I don't think he does either one of those two particularly well, in my opinion. I think he can be serviceable in special teams. Last year against the Bills, he was responsible for that a kick return that was stopped at the 3-yard line. He was also responsible for the Gabriel 97-yard touchdown pass that happened right after it. And so, I don't know. I always thought, that he might be on his way out. I think Elijah Riley is going to be a guy that ends up making the team, though.
Yeah, I can see it. Aquatic, what's up, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Good to see you. Yeah, the defense overall, there's really not too many like concerns in the sense I think really many people have. Maybe it might just be like certain depth things at certain spots, but you have that every year. Every team has that. Long as they're healthy, we know it'll be one of the better units in the league. But we'll switch over the offense because we know the offense has a lot of things that they want to try to prove this season. And not that this is the biggest talk at the offensive camp, but in terms of recent days, this has probably been the biggest talk offensively is Kendrick Green taking reps at fullback and catching passes and getting handoffs and setting some pretty good blocks. So going back to Brian's question, he says if Kendrick Green goes to fullback, doesn't he have to change his number or report as eligible every down he's in the offense, not playing lineman? So I think when it comes to that is that he would probably just have a full position change where he's not listed as an offensive lineman and he would just be under fullback.
No, I think he's the second string center, so I think he's just gonna have to report.
Yeah, but can't they change his position that he's not a second string center?
No, because I think his value is probably higher as a second string center than as a fullback. You know, in
but
my
if they're not going to
opinion,
use him as an offensive lineman at all, why would you keep him as a center?
Well, if Mason Cole goes down, you need to put somebody there with a
but it doesn't need to be Kendrick Green though. Wasn't Kendrick Green last year?
It wasn't, but this year it appears that he's the second string center. You know, unless somebody can come in and overtake what his position. As of now, he's the second string center. So because he's the second string center, if he was listed at third or fourth, maybe perhaps I can say, okay, maybe. But I think that the only way, Kendrick Green makes this team is because he's versatile and being able to be a backup interior lineman and a fullback. I don't think they're going to be utilizing him solely as a fullback. And so, because of that, they're just going to keep him at 53 and he's going to have to report eligible every time he goes in.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, if this is something that can revive his career, then good for him. I know a lot. He's gotten a lot of hate. I don't really know where his value lies much as a lineman because he hasn't shown anything in the sense of being somebody who can be a reliable lineman or anything like that for this team. But if he's somebody that can take a fullback-esque type role in certain downs, certain points in the game, and if he can find some value in his career in that way, well, then great. Now, is there a long-term trajectory for that? Probably not. But if it's something that the Steelers want to use this year and they think that they can maybe do something with them, then I'm all for it. We'll probably see it in preseason.
I was talking with Rich from Big Bro Sco from the Steel Curtain Network yesterday on The Hangover. He was filling in for Shannon White. We were actually talking about Kendrick Green. And he made a valid point. He stated that he thinks that Kendrick Green, year 3 now, is going to be better than year 1 rookie Kendrick Green, first and foremost. 2, the people that are around him, the players that are around him are better as well. Trey Turner, I think was his right guard, and Kevin Dotson was his left guard when Kendrick Green was the center a couple of years back. Right now, having James Daniels and Isaac Seumalo is probably going to improve his play at the center position to be a lot better. So, there's a good opportunity or a good possibility that, when he goes and plays, if he does end up having to fill in for, Mason Cole for a little bit, I anticipate him not to be at the same level as Mason Cole, but I don't think he's going to be what we saw when he was a rookie.
Right. Well, I would hope not.
Yeah.
The guy had all last year to sit, to learn. But I don't know, dude. It's more telling to me the fact they're using him at fullback. Like, I don't really see the value, like that they have much value there for him on the line.
Well, they have him as a second string center, so I think they do value him a little bit. Now, the reason why they have him,
seen him gotten many snaps there at that spot.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit. I was watching, I guess they were doing a little thing on Kendrick Green earlier on Pittsburgh Steelers YouTube channel, and they were talking about him, and they were talking to him about it, And apparently the situation came up of going up against the Baltimore Ravens and how they utilized one of their linemen as a fullback, and they used Kendrick Green as as the scout on the scout team for that player. And I guess they found out that he was pretty decent at it. Now, the one thing that was great about Kendrick Green, coming out of college, was that he was athletic, he was fast, and he could pull. The reason why they selected him is because the Steelers really didn't have that interior lineman that can pull. The loss of Marquise Pouncey was big. So I think the Steelers felt that they could go from one, interior offensive line center to another with athleticness and the ability to pull. And fortunately, it just didn't work out. But, his ability to pull and his that being his strength, being in that position where he's put in motion and having to take off the edge, I mean, that's huge. I mean, it's better than being, trying to do that out of the, the 3-pointer out of a stance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I think it's going to work out better for him. And
I hope so.
If it gets him a role, shoot, that saves a draft pick. You know what I mean? A third rounder too.
Yeah, no, absolutely does. And the other thing too is that I think we'll see is like we know Herbig's somebody too on their line. I don't know how much they view him as a center, but Spencer Anderson too, who they drafted out of Maryland. He'll probably get some time in preseason. Vince Williams was somebody too who advocated for Kendrick Green to be a fullback.
That's true. That's true.
He did. He advocated for that last year for him to be a fullback. Aquatic says great at fullback, too small at center. Rookie from Maryland might eventually be used as a backup center. He could. He's going to get some opportunity. It's all about being able to take advantage of that. But I think we can say too that Derek Watt's not coming back.
No, I don't think so. But with Spencer Anderson, ain't he like 6'6", something like that? I mean, they also played him at tackle. I don't remember that. I don't remember the last time.
I think he's played all three positions, to be honest.
Yeah, he has. I don't know the last time the Steelers had a center that large. I mean, I think they've always liked having the not so much undersized center, but a center that can move and be athletic, and that typically comes with your undersized centers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's somebody too. If he ends up showing something that the Steelers like to the point where they want to keep him around as on that depth chart with that line, he's pretty versatile, which is something that you're going to value for anybody that can do that and play at this kind of level. You're going to value that anywhere. So we'll see. We'll see what Spencer Anderson has to do, but Kendrick Green has been kind of a talking point these last few days. Also offensively, we know George Pickens has had a really good camp. Daniel, I even told you before, I think that he's going to have a really nice year too. And I think that he's ultimately going to be our guy this year at wide receiver. I still like Deontay. I would love to see him have a good season, but there's just something about George Pickens, man, what he can do and his type of level of play. I think he's gonna do a lot of good things this year.
I do too. I mean, his ball control is insane, or his catch radius is insane. I'm sorry. And his body control is insane. The fact that he's able to get in bounds and usually keep his feet in bounds, and catch some of these passes that most people don't. The only thing that I think that I hope kind of stays in check a little bit is the attitude. Right. I like his aggressiveness and stuff like that. It's different than like Juju Smith-Schuster or Chase Claypool, where it was more like childish.
Yeah, it was just more silly. It was more silly. That's what it was. Like you're not going to see Pickens freaking dancing around. You're not going to see Pickens, pointing for a first down. The guy just wants the ball. He wants the ball and he wants to make the plays. That's really what it is.
Right, but there is a sense of like arrogance that's getting a little bit, like for instance, him calling himself Michael Jordan already, or the greatest wide receiver in the world. I mean, I get the having the confidence there, but that's pretty crazy. Yeah. And it'll be interesting. A lot of people are saying, is he a diva in the making? It usually comes with the position. I think those receivers that are good typically are. Do you foresee it being an issue at all?
Not right now. He still has a lot to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Not right now. Now, let's say that he has a great year this year and going into year 3 as well, he has a really good season there and he starts to find himself in the upper echelon wide receivers. Well, then maybe. But ultimately, dude, I don't think you can get any worse than Antonio Brown.
I was going to say,
if Mike
unless he
Tomlin
shows
could
up.
handle Antonio Brown, I don't think that George Pickens will even come close to that.
Yeah,
He might have a mouth, he might have an ego, but ultimately, what top wide receiver doesn't?
That's true. I mean, well, I guess we can worry once he shows up in a hot air balloon. Once that
I'm
happens,
excited for
that's
him
when
though,
we'll
man.
start
I'm
worrying.
excited. I think he's going to be our top wide receiver this year.
I think he's going to.
I know
have
you're
a better
big on
year than
Deontay though.
last.
I know you think Deontay's going to have a good year.
I think this year's Deontay's year. I think Deontay has a lot to prove, and I think a lot of these weapons around Kenny Pickett, you can't account for all of them. You can't double cover
Right.
Deontay and George Pickens and Pat Fryermuth, right? And stop the run. It's going to be a situation where it's like pick your poison, I think, with this offense. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Deontay Johnson to be left unattended. He's under the radar, and going into this year, probably a little bit disrespected when it comes to like, where he probably lies along the top of the receivers in the NFL. I think he's gonna have a big year. I think he is.
So. I hope so. I like him. I do. I know that he gets hate, but I think at the end of the day, I think really all Steelers fans want him to do well, but they just get frustrated by some of the stuff he does. And also looking at the other wide receiver, Allen Robinson, he's had a pretty good camp as well with Kenny. They've been developing some good chemistry from what has been going on. Allen Robinson, at the end of the day, I think will be a fine number 3 option at the wide receiver spot.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he's had some injury concerns. He's not the player he used to be. He doesn't need to be. He doesn't need to be. And he knows that. He knows that. He doesn't have an ego. He's not somebody who is going to cause a problem. He knows his role. Steelers brought him in. They wanted some leadership in there. A lot of people like him as a locker room guy. But I think that he's going to have a decent year, especially from what he had with the Rams and toward the end of his tenure in Chicago. I'm not saying that he's going to get 800 yards or anything like that as wide receiver 3, but I think he's going to make some nice plays. I think he's going to make some nice plays, and I think at the end of the day, he is a reliable guy. He's just got to stay on the field. That's really it. And let's see here. Deontay's playing for future contract, either with Pittsburgh or the NFL, better route runner. DJ's going to score the first offense touchdown of the season. That'd be really cool. That'd be really cool if he was the first one to score a touchdown. Guy freaking deserves it. I don't know how he didn't score a touchdown last year. It's honestly insane to think about.
Yeah, I think he was like
That's
the only one,
nuts.
and I don't know how many targets he had or receptions to not have a touchdown. He got close a lot of times.
Yeah.
It just never happened. Just never did. How do you feel about no rookies starting at this point?
It doesn't surprise me. I think that's just what Tomlin does, man. I think Joey Porter's going to start week 1. I think he's going to start week 1. As we talked about with Keanu Benton, not worried. The fact that he's in that 3rd or 4th spot right now. Darnell Washington. I mean, heck, dude, they have him listed behind Connor Hayward and Zach Gentry. You think that's going to last?
Right.
It's definitely not going to last. So I'm not concerned about any of these rookies not being higher up on the depth chart. Not concerned because, dude, they and even Broderick Jones, like they do it every year with these guys because they want them to earn it, and I understand that. They don't want to just give it or anything like that. But I think we've seen what Porter's done. What Porter's done this camp, and he's going to get time in preseason as well to mark himself down as somebody who could start week 1. Broderick Jones has had a good camp, but so has Dan Moore. So Dan Moore's going to start preseason game, I'm sure, is the starting left tackle, but Broderick Jones has 3 preseason games and 3 weeks of training camp to maybe make the regular season start. But I'm not concerned, man. I think, dude, I said this before, and this isn't me as a fan saying this. When we look at the Steelers draft class this year, I think that this has the trajectory and the potential to be their best draft class in years.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. And all 4 of these guys whether they start early on, whether it's kind of a miss and match in the sense of this guy's starting now. Okay. You know, maybe 4 weeks down the road or 4 weeks later, this guy's going to start getting in a higher role, whatever it may be. I think the potential of all four of these guys is really something special. Now, does that mean they're all going to work out? No, I'm not saying that. But I think that it's a likely possibility that all four do. And it's a likely possibility that we're going to look back 3 years from now, 2-3 years from now, and look at this draft class and say, damn, Omar Khan's first draft was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I like all four.
Do think...
I like what all four of those guys can bring to the table.
No, I agree. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm not going to deny it. You know, you look at Najee Harris, though, Pat Fryermuth, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. You know, George Pickens last year. These were guys that, you know, George maybe not so much. I think he was on the outside. I think he started the first preseason game because Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool didn't play. So I don't know if he was, you know, first on the depth chart, though. But Najee Harris and Pat Fryermuth were. And, you know, I just thought that they weren't going, you know, if these guys showed up, that they wouldn't not give it to them. You know what I mean? So I do think that maybe perhaps, you know, a lot of the holes were addressed in free agency too.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yeah, I'm not surprised either. I mean, too surprised. I'm a little bit, not too surprised. I thought I would have seen, honestly, I thought Broderick Jones would have been starting. You know, you move up to the 14th pick, you trade up in the first round for a left tackle. I expect that person to be the starter, and I expect that person to be the starter week one. And I expect that this team would be preparing him as a starter for week one, you know, just because of the fact that, let's just say he wins this battle. Do you think that battle hinders his development? Wouldn't it have been better to have him as a starter all the way and having those reps with the ones throughout this entire time?
You could look at it like that. Yeah. I think being there and seeing, like, I don't know, man. I think some players are different in the sense of like how they handle being given the starting job versus not being given it, and maybe what coaches think that player will do with it. Right. So I'm not going to sit and act like I know the answer to that, as into what would be better for Broderick Jones. At the end of the day, he's had a good camp, and I like hearing that. If Dan Moore has as well, then okay. If they trot him out week one, then whatever. But I definitely believe they're going to give Broderick Jones every opportunity to win the starting left tackle job.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
So I don't know, dude. Like, I'm just like, I know what you're saying. I think just like not being there, and like we're really mainly outsiders looking into kind of certain situations with our football teams and stuff. You would kind of put those thoughts kind of in a process and kind of wonder about that stuff. But that's what I mean too. Like, I think it just kind of depends on maybe just the player and what they want more from the player, maybe versus than what another guy might already have done that they've seen already that they feel good with, or could just be demeanor, could just be different characteristics of them as a individual, and they think, hey, this is just the better route to do it with. We really want to see what this guy can bring to the table. We really want to see this guy chomp at the bit and freaking earn this, because we know he can, and he knows what we drafted him to be. So I don't know. I think I think regardless though, it's just good that he's had good things coming out of training camp so far.
Yeah.
And that's at least what you want to see. Even though he's not plugged in there right now on the first depth chart as the week one starter, I think it's a lot better still the fact that he's had positive things coming out of training camp than not. Even regardless if he's not the starter. So I still feel okay about that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying I don't feel okay with it. I just feel that if he ends up being the week one starter, and that was you just wanted to give the illusion of a battle, right. And maybe there is some sort of opportunity there for Dan Moore to keep his job.
Yeah.
That if he comes in and he just shows up, then for sure, 100%.
Yeah. It's going to be something to watch.
Yeah.
That's what preseason's all about.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what makes it 100%. Fun. That's what makes it fun. Like, preseason can be like, it's just preseason, doesn't matter. There's actually a lot of things that go into it that are actually really important. And I think more people than not enjoy watching their team's preseason games.
Yeah, I'm excited about that because it's not just that battle. I mean, there's more battles that are there.
Yeah.
I also want to see. I want to see Calvin Austin play a game.
Mm-hmm.
We've had to wait an entire year for him.
Yeah.
To see the speed and his, how he's going to be used. And I want to see Darnell Washington and how he's going to be used.
Yeah, dude, imagine inside the 5, the freaking goal line, bro. Najee's back there. Darnell Washington's out there. Kendrick Green's out there.
Yeah.
If you can't get that to work, I don't know what to tell you.
You should be able to get 4 to 5 yards on every play, just running it up the gut with that.
Yeah. Aquatic says Moore's having a good camp. He's doing better than Jones because of experience, techniques. Give him time. Don't throw him in there until he's ready. He has a lot to learn. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. They know where he's at. They know what they're doing. I trust the Steelers development, man, over I take the Steelers being able to do player development over most teams in the NFL. So
right. No, I get that. But I think our biggest complaint about last season was that they didn't throw in Kenny Pickett off the bat and get him prepared for week 1 and use all of the entire offseason to move this team in that direction. I think overall, the majority, and I'm fairly positive if you can, you were to ask, Tomlin or the front staff if they could do last year over, if they would consider starting Kenny Pickett. And I think they would too. And so, I'm just looking at it from that perspective. If we're looking at the most important position on the field offensively,
right,
the quarterback position, and we're looking at it like, hey, we probably should have let the rookie build the camaraderie, and also we got to take into effect that last year was a rebuild year. So I think that makes a difference. This year is not so much of a rebuild. This is like let's get ready. So let's have the guy that's ready. So I get those two aspects.
Oh, for sure. No, you make good points on that, man. You do. And he could still, Roger Jones could end up just having a good preseason, a good training camp, and he's listed as week 1 guy the week before the game starts. So
I mean, it's possible. I think though, if Dan Moore starts and he does well against, Bosa, and then he does well against Garrett, which he's, has a history of doing so, I think it's gonna be difficult to take him out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see, man. I mean, Broderick's still young, and I'm excited to see that battle, though. I am. I think that's good. Jeremiah asked, with this defense, who's getting the first pick 6? Pat Pete, Joey Porter, or Minka?
Oh, that's a good one. Probably Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, probably. He has a track record of doing it. So, all right. So Daniel and I, we've kind of gone through some different preseason talk, some news coming out of preseason. We're going to transition into week 1, the preseason week 1 against Tampa Bay. They play Friday. Now, Daniel, are you going to be able to watch this game?
Yeah, I'm going to be watching it. I think I'm going to try to I'm going to try to watch it. I have a way that I used to be able to watch these games.
And here comes Z-Bag, ladies and gentlemen. Just pour a whole bunch of Ravens hate in the chat, please. Please, I hope so. Z, by the way, the Ravens quarterbacks have been throwing pick centrals all over the place, so I'm sorry about that. Appreciate you tuning in the chat, Z. Appreciate it. Hopefully you just got off work, and I don't know. We'll and there's Jason and George there. So there we go. But yeah, so you said that you are probably gonna be able to watch it.
Yeah, if I can, like I have this, online streaming way of watching the preseason games.
Okay.
That worked last season. If they work this season and I'm able to, then I'm actually going to go live on Friday night and kind of do a play-by-play. I'm not going to be able to show the game for copyright purposes.
You can do some commentary.
Yeah, I'm going to do some commentary, do some play-by-play. I haven't done it before. It'll be interesting. I haven't drank in a while, so I might bust out the old Wixie. The Wixie. I'm already drinking the whiskey. And so, man, I might pull myself out some whiskey, enjoy the game, and just kind of talk about it on my channel. Say the Steelers. Looking forward to it, man. I'm really excited about this, and excited about who's going to play, who's not going to play. I think there's going to be a few players that don't play in this game. How do you think that the Steelers are going to handle these 3 preseason games? Traditionally they don't play their starters week 1 or week 4 when it used to be four games. How do you think they're going to handle this? Do you think the starters are going to play more than a drive, if at all? Do you see any players not taking the field at all during preseason or this preseason game?
Yeah. I'm going to say Minka doesn't play just because he just got back and, just want him to kind of get his feet wet still. And he has some time to do that. I'm going to say TJ doesn't play. He doesn't need to. He definitely does not need to play. I'm going to say Cam does not play. And I'm going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Pat Pete doesn't play.
Yeah, I don't think Pat Pete plays
either. I don't think he needs to play the first game. So I think maybe Highsmith too. He might not. He might not play either himself. So I think other than that, I think we're probably going to see like Neal. We'll see KZ. We'll see some of the other corners. I think we see all the linebackers. They need the work. I think Ogunjobi maybe a little bit, but yeah, I think probably just our prime guys, our main guys on defense. I don't see playing now. Offensively, I think that we're pretty much. I'm going to say that we see most of everybody on the offense.
I don't. Maybe I think Seumalo and Harris take the night off.
I could see those two. Yeah, I could see that. I'm gonna say most of the offense though. I'm gonna say that we see. And I've been seeing on Twitter. Shout out to Devin from the Here We Go show. Devin has not been an advocate for Kenny playing this game.
Really?
He does not think Kenny should play this game. I disagree. I know that he pretty much was saying that, and this isn't saying anything negative toward him. Like this is his take, his opinion. But Kenny is a year 2 guy, and I don't care that these games are meaningless. He needs the reps. He needs the work. He needs the in-play situation of getting ready with his offense, with his guys, with Matt Canada, and even if it's for a drive or two, a series or two, whatever it is, a quarter, a half, you need to do that. You need to. It's not Big Ben days where Ben didn't need to play. Right. It's a year 2 quarterback. He needs to play. And I would say that for any team. Aquatic says stars need to sit and be in bubble wrap until San Francisco. Jennifer says, heard the new OC told Lamar he can't use his wristband and has to get plays through his headset. Can't wait to see how crowd noises messes him up. Z probably didn't hear that probably didn't realize that because he barely follows his teams. Devin, if you're in here, you're an easy one and done. But yeah, dude, I think Kenny needs to play 100%.
I do too. And the reason why I think Kenny needs to play is because he didn't even, last year he didn't have the entire year. He didn't even have the off season as a starter.
No.
And he was limited in the preseason games that he played last year as well, especially in the early ones. I think the Steelers were really trying to get Mr. Trubisky transition to be the starter come week 1. And for the season, I didn't think the Steelers had any of them. I don't think Tomlin wanted to start Kenny Pickett at all last year. I think this was supposed to be Kenny Pickett's year to come out. Now, none of those things happened. So, he didn't play last year much during the preseason, wasn't the starter during, developmental phase. The players that he was thrown to were the backup players, and players that didn't make the team. And so I think that it would be important to build some of that chemistry and get some of those things that there's maybe need a little bit more tuning right now when it doesn't count versus trying to get those things in line when it counts.
Yeah. Against San Francisco, arguably the best defense in the league.
Yeah. You don't want to be trying to, figure fine tune some of those things during that time. You want to work on those things then.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and that's it. Even if it's for a quarter, if it's for a series, 2 series, 3 series, I don't know, but you got to do something. Now, maybe that last game, maybe that's a game. Okay, we're gonna we're gonna hold them out, but at least for the first 2 games, wouldn't you think? At least for the first 2 games.
See, that's why for me in preseason, I would say I would want my starters to play 6 quarters out of 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if they're not going to play at all, that would equate maybe not 6 quarters out of 3 games. I'm sorry, 3 quarters out of 3 games.
Right.
Right. And if you're not going to have, if you're not going to have any there on the last game, and the second game is your tune-up game. It's your dress rehearsal. That's probably going to be a half. I would want, do you really want your team going into against San Francisco? And, I don't know how many of their players are going to be playing, but if they, play their core group a little bit and they're more prepared than the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's not going to be a good result. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at last year. The Steelers go up against Cincinnati Bengals in week 1, a team that didn't, play their starters or anything. And Joe Burrow threw 5 interceptions, and, they were not the team that they ended up becoming throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of it had to do with rust. The Pittsburgh Steelers played Mitch Trubisky and played their offense, played their defense throughout preseason. Maybe not, Cam or TJ, but majority of the guys. And so I felt that, the Steelers were able to get that one leg up at that part of the season with those players, and they were able to stick up with them, later on as well. But I think that the reason why they were able to win that game or come out and have the turnovers and have the success that they did in part was because of the rust. So, I think it's a double-edged sword, when it comes to preseason games, playing your players.
Yeah.
You either go into the season if you rest them. If you rest them too, you also, there's that possibility that you just kind of throw them out there into a game-like setting for 60 minutes, something that they're not accustomed to. There could be some injury there too. And so I don't know. I don't know what the benefit is, which one it is. You'd have to look at the minutia of the numbers there to determine, how many players get hurt when they've sat out the entire preseason because they're not game ready.
Yeah.
How many players, it benefits the whole 9 yards. It's a lot to go through. Well, what do you think it benefits? Not playing in preseason or playing?
I think playing does more just because you're starting to get in that groove. You're getting your feet wet. You're getting a little bit of some type of game speed in. And I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm not looking at the analytics or anything like that. I think just from a general consensus, I'm not going off of each individual player and how it affects TJ Watt, how it affects Pickett, how it affects Najee. No. Just from a general perspective on what somebody would think on how a preseason affects a roster, players, things like that. I think just being able just to kind of get things kind of start rolling. Doesn't mean you won't be rusty the first couple weeks or anything like that. But yeah, Aquatic says you need some of that contact, man. You need to kind of get back in that. The NFL is a long off season. It's a long off season. And that's actually one of my least favorite things about the freaking league. I hate how long the off season is. But yeah, you need that contact. You need that hit. You need to you need to be able to kind of get in that type of groove and being back in that type of setting of whatever you're playing, offense, defense, it doesn't matter. Getting acclimated with certain, like, offensively, right? Like maybe some of these new designs, some of these new concepts that are starting to be implemented into the offense, maybe that they're trying to do. Like that stuff is important. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm an advocate of somebody. I'm not saying that your guys need to play every preseason game, but there needs to be something. There needs to be something there. There needs to be a little bit, and that's just how it is. Just from a general consensus. I'm not saying that for every player, but I think more than not, the guys need the work before the season starts.
I agree. Yeah. You don't want to go in there just, in my opinion, not being fresh and not being hit for the first time and be week 1 and your body's not used to being hit like that, or especially like in a quarterback position, because in training camp and in practice, the quarterback's not getting hit. This is going to be the first time, the quarterback's going to get hit since the last real game. Right. Let's be real. Right. Yeah. And so you want to prepare for that a little bit. Unless you're Tua's been out there preparing, getting hit this entire offseason, apparently. Have you seen that? Yeah, he's also got quite a bit heavier.
Yeah.
I think me and him, we'll get confused for each other now.
Well, you might. I don't know. But
From a
yeah, I don't know.
distance.
I didn't hear about that.
What, that he put on some weight?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's put on some weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, his shortness it's not the same like with Kenny Pickett put on some weight.
Right.
His height, he looks bulky.
I know
He looks
Kenny did.
stronger.
Yeah.
Tua did the same thing, but because he's short, he doesn't look as bulky.
Well, it looks, maybe
He
it looks
looks more
little,
round.
Yeah.
He
I don't
looks
know. We'll
more
see if
round.
the African guy can stay healthy, dude. I don't know.
Well, that's why he did it. He wanted to be able to absorb the hits better.
Yeah. But even just like, dude, he's had just some concussions, man. He's had some really bad injuries even before being a pro.
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
I don't necessarily think he's that great of a quarterback, when not injured, at the top of his game. Last season, he was doing well early on, but a lot of his passes should have been intercepted. The Steelers had their hands on 4 of them.
Yeah.
In that one game. But, the problem was, and I had said it before going into that game, was, the speedy receivers that the Dolphins had, Tua doesn't have the arm to put the ball in front of him. But unfortunately, these cornerbacks are back to the quarterback and they're not seeing the ball coming down. And so they're eventually going to catch on and figure out when to turn around and intercept these balls. And it kind of started coming to fruition, but, injury started to take a toll on him as well.
Yeah, Z's flag football game or flag football team won last night, so they actually might have a little bit more competition in the league. I'm not really sure, but it sounds like Z's knee's healthier, so he's out there playing, so that's good. But yeah, dude, it's just good that we have a game this week. Daniel, would you say that with this preseason game, would you say that what would you say, not even for this game, but for if you could give me a list of, and you don't need to pull it up or go through, but maybe off the top of your head, a few guys that this game is really big for us, for the Steelers, that a few players on this team that this is a big game for, maybe to make a name for themselves right away in this game. Who are maybe some of those guys that you would say that really might need this first game to be okay? Hey, you got our attention,
Like, who needs this first game for?
Yeah, really could use this first game as something of making a name for themselves, or being somebody who makes you kind of say, oh yeah, you're here, right? Or open up eyes for the coaches, or maybe to get a nice jump start into making this team.
Yeah, it's going to be on offense. I think it's going to be Anthony McFarland. Okay. He's been showing quite a bit this offseason. Last year, I think he had his best preseason, but Jaylen Warren just blew him out of the water. This year, he's been able to show that, that he can have that home run ability. And that's kind of been his issue up to this point in his career, is that he's had the potential for it, but he seems to just kind of get tripped up and hasn't been able to put it together and get a home run out there. Now, if everything is as we heard, it sounds like he's put it together this year. He's going to need to go out there and perform. He's been on the team for quite a bit now, and really underperformed, compared to where he was expected to be. And defensively, I'm going to go with the guy that I said that is my dark horse to make the 53. He's been showing up in camp. He needs to transition it into the stadium, and that's Elijah Riley.
Yeah.
He needs to, I think, I foresee him being out there probably early on. He's listed as the number 2 nickelback behind, not the band, but
look at this photograph.
Yeah, something like that. And then, not the band, but he's number 2 behind Shannon Sullivan. So he's gonna have to beat him out. I don't think they're gonna keep both of those guys there. There's a lot of defensive backs. Patrick Peterson is a guy that's also going to be working in the slot and in nickel, so during certain packages. So I don't think there's going to be a need for many of those guys. So I think Elijah Riley on defense is going to have to step up.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get easy opportunity. Duke Dawson's another guy that's going to get some opportunity that came over from Denver. I think he was a mid-round pick a few years ago. We know Shannon Sullivan. Some of these rookies we know are, but I'm going to say like a couple guys that I think really could use this first game in the sense of kind of maybe making a mark. I'm going to say maybe a guy like a Mark Robinson, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's not saying like he needs to have a preseason to where like he'd be good enough to start. Like he's not going to, but just in the sense of development wise, I know the Steelers would love to be able to get something out of him more longer term rather than just this season. So I think maybe he's somebody like that really could use a good preseason game to start off. I think too, maybe just a couple of these guys like what you were talking about in the secondary. Because we know that there's not like we know what the spots are in the sense of really who's going to be the main starters, blah, blah, blah. But like what you're saying with the playing nickel, there's not really solidification there. And so there's going to be some guys that are going to be in there preseason week 1 that are going to try to put their name in the hat. And so that's something to also take a look out for. Even maybe the back end wide receivers. Miles Boykin, Gunner, Calvin Austin.
Yeah. That's true.
Hakeem Butler. You know, there's going to be some guys there that are going to want to. We know, what was that guy's name last year? I forget his first name, but his last name was Vaughns.
Oh, yeah. Tyler Vaughns.
And he was somebody that was having some good moments in preseason. Ultimately is in the XFL, I believe, right now. But even somebody like that, I'm like, wow, okay, they decided not to keep him. I don't even think they stashed him on their practice squad.
No, I don't think they did.
Yeah. Well, Z, I'm surprised you're not the one that ordered 5 bowls. Yeah. All right, Brian. Yeah. Appreciate you tuning in, man. We'll see you later on. But Daniel, before we go here, if you had to give me a couple, if you could give me a couple, maybe predictions from what we're going to see this preseason game, and then who's going to take the W, what are you going to say?
Well, I think the Steelers are going to win this game. I think they're going to play a lot of their starters in this game early on, just to build that camaraderie. It's a very young team. Team. I think Tampa Bay is, kind of has a young team as well as far as like new players to their team offensively. I expect to see Baker Mayfield. So, given that, I think the Steelers are going to win.
Yeah,
they have a good history against Baker. I think that some things that we should expect to see. I expect to see more screens, early on, getting that down. I anticipate a lot of screens, actually. And I anticipate not a lot of use of the running back position right now, just because I don't think they want to hurt any of these guys.
Right.
Maybe perhaps, later on in the depth. I don't think Najee is going to play. So Jaylen Warren might get a handful of carries. I think they're going to use him primarily as blocking. I think when it comes to running the ball, Anthony McFarland, John Lovett, Greg Bell, Darius Higgins, those guys are going to probably get a bulk load of the carries, just to kind of show what they've, capable of doing as well. As far as predictions that are out there, I think Kenny, Mitch, and Mason play at least. I think Kenny probably plays a quarter. I think Mason plays the fourth quarter. I think Mitch gets, 2 quarters there. And I'm going to say that each quarterback throws a TD.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm going to say Kenny's going to have a couple series. And I'm going to say that he has at least a touchdown. I'm going to say Darnell Washington gets a touchdown this game. And I think that we're going to see some good performances out of guys like Riley. I think we're going to see some good, I don't like not a glimpse, not a glimpse, but it's kind of hard because I don't know who's all going to play. So I'm not really going to mention any of the starters. But I think Fiactu on the defensive line, he's going to he's going to show he belongs in the rotation, the defensive line rotation. Excited to see even just some of these linebackers play and if they can play well. It might bring some excitement in the sense of, okay, like, can we actually have a decent group? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know it's preseason, but hey, I'm just saying.
I think so, man. I think we're gonna be. I can't wait, dude. I just can't wait.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna say they win too. I'm gonna say they win too. Think Mitch might play a little decent, especially against maybe a bad Tampa Bay second, third team. We'll see. But yeah, say Steelers win. As well. Speaking of the Ravens, they actually have a 23-0 preseason streak going on for this Saturday. They've won their last 23 preseason games.
The Ravens?
Yeah.
Well, that's an accomplishment.
They've won 23 straight preseason games.
They should have a parade right next to that time that the Browns made a parade when they went 0-16.
Yeah. Well, the thing Z actually takes a lot of pride in that.
That's
he
good.
That's actually something people care about. So,
like I said, you can mount that trophy right next to the Browns 0-16 year.
Mount that trophy over there. Good.
Yeah. I prefer the 6 trophies the Steelers have.
Something Z will never understand. But yeah, so Daniel and I both think the Steelers will take the W tonight, or not tonight, Friday night. Wish it was tonight. Friday night. I think just kind of some of the players, talk about some of the starters. You know, we might see some maybe a score here or two from them, but don't know. Washington excited to see. Anthony McFarland's going to get some time. Jalen Warren's going to get some time, and just some of these position battles, man. Left tackle, maybe some guys at linebacker, more lower end guys that have been brought in. Marcus Golden's probably going to get some time, who they just brought in, as well as the third edge. So there's going to be some things to watch, some things to look out for. Some of these rookies going to get some time in preseason. So I don't know, but nonetheless, even though it's preseason, doesn't matter. There's still things to watch, still things to look out for, and we're just excited that football's back. So, Daniel, anything else you want to say before we call it on that?
That'd be it, man. I'm looking forward to this game. Check out State of the Steelers. I'll be on Friday night not live streaming the game, but doing a little play-by-play for those that can't get the game.
Yep. So take a look on his channel, guys. For anybody in the chat or in the live stream that has not followed Daniel's channel, it's right there under his name at State of the Steelers. You guys can follow me right here at In Hindsight if you have not. We'll probably be back probably next Tuesday, probably talk about the game.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, we'll probably be back next Tuesday, talk about the game, and then leading into the second preseason game out here. But yeah, guys, it feels good, man. Feels good. Football's back. We've made it. It is in the air. And Kotick says, "Hey Z, how about that new look offense with Lamar in the pocket, top 5?" Yeah, well, you know, Kotick, Lamar's been throwing interception after interception in training camp, so that sounds about right. So
I mean, that's what happens when you use a running back to be a quarterback.
Well, it is, and Z just doesn't understand that. And it's funny too, because Z actually has said before that he doesn't like Lamar, like he can't take him. But then, you know, he says he loves him, so I don't know what to believe. But yeah, shout out to all you guys in the chat. Aquatic, George, Afton was here earlier. Jared Devil, Brian, Jeremiah, Jennifer was in here. Z, of course. Kels popped in for a little bit. Who else am I missing here? At least just in terms of the chat. Like I said, Aquatic. Yeah. So just all you guys in the chat, appreciate it. For those who tuned in, we're not in the chat. We appreciate your guys' viewership and tuning in, guys. We just love talking about serious football here. So if you're into that, this is a place to come to once or twice a week. Daniel, we'll probably get back to our twice a week once the season gets going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
we'll get back to it and
that. So
do a show on the do a like some sort of a post-game show and then a preview show.
Right.
You know, for the games that'll come up.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we did last year, right? Didn't we do that? We did like that Tuesday and then like that the Tuesday and then we did the Saturday for the game, right? Yeah, that's what we did. Right. Okay. Yeah, Jeremiah, appreciate it, man. Let's go Steelers. Jennifer, thank you. Aquatic, thank you. George, everybody, like we said, we'll be back Tuesday on Daniel's channel, guys. So stay up to date on his channel when he will post the upcoming show live next Tuesday, where we talk about the preseason game this Friday, guys. So hopefully you guys can catch it and watch it on Friday, and then catch us on Tuesday, guys. So we will see you then. And 1 second, at the end of the day, guys, here we go, Steelers. Unless you're Z, get the hell out of here. Everybody else, we appreciate your guys' support. Thank you, guys. It's an exciting time, guys. We'll see you Tuesday.
Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go!